Check out this statement from Professor Jeffrey Sachs from Columbia University, interviewed by Charlie Rose last night, October the 6th. He said, because if you have inadequate skills to be able to compete against Chinese workers who work to earn a lot less than U.S. workers, then those jobs naturally migrate abroad. That's this, you all have this copy right here, okay, on the other sheet, okay. That's, Professor Sachs goes on to say, that's why our companies are flush with cash right now, but they're not investing in the United States because there's no great profitability. They are investing heavily in China. They are investing heavily in the rest of the world. That's why a lot of our CEOs don't care about what's happening in the United States. And you all can see my response directly below Professor Sachs' statement. Now, my response to Professor Sachs' statement is that the way to provide incentive for U.S. companies to stay or come home is to at least increase the value of the U.S. dollar, such as we did in the 1990s. But we cannot do that with a low dollar.
So you're asking President Obama to place pressure on the feds to start raising the prime interest rate to a competitive level and scrap the policy of allowing investment banks to get their money directly from the feds? Is that correct?
Yes, sir. The president has the power to fire Fed's Chairman Ben Bernanke, and he can use his bully pulpit to inform Americans about this.
Okay, now what about item 3 in your letter?
You mean this idea of debt forgiveness?
Yes.
Okay, well, let us keep in mind that the Federal Reserve is not an innocent party in the 2008 economic collapse. Yet they have not stepped up to take any responsibility for the mess. The feds cannot deny that they allowed financial institutions to insanely borrow many times their assets. Of course, this was done through the channels of the large coalescing commercial banks. Yet this process can be easily reversed by the feds forgiving much of that debt. However, as the letter points out to President Obama, debt forgiveness must require participating lenders to forgive their customers/borrowers of the same amount of debt that the institutions, are forgiving. The feds cannot be harmed by debt forgiveness because only the feds is owed the money.
Now, what effects would this have on the economy? Your letter mentioned something like resetting the economy. By the way, I like that phrase.
Thank you, Steve. Yes, sir. If we reduce everyone's ratio of assets to debts in the accounting market, in the business market, it is called assets to liabilities.
Right.
But since we're getting this message out to lay Americans, I'm using the term assets to debts. Okay, so if we reduce everyone's assets to the ratio of assets to debts or assets to liabilities, then most everyone will be open for business again, and property values will be restored with people's debt load reduced. Just as important is that the tax revenues from property will be restored for the states. This would effectively reset our economy.
Okay, Mr. Cobble, why do you feel it's important for Americans to understand these fundamental concepts and principles in economics?
Because bankers and politicians are human. Thus, they become foolhardy and selfish when being in charge of so much money. We, however, can moderate their behavior by being aware of the basic principles of the engine of an economy, a competitive prime rate as compared to other nations such as China, and ensuring that everyone competes with the US dollar on a level playing field. And an in-demand, high-value dollar is within the best interest of our nation. It really is a national security matter for protecting the nation.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Cobble. Now, before we open this up to the audience for questions, did you want to announce the upcoming economics rally?
Yes, we're having the Bill Clinton 1990s Economics Policy Rally on Wednesday, October 19, 2011 at 12 noon. We will meet at the Jefferson County Judicial Center at 7th and Jefferson Street in Louisville, Kentucky, and march down to the Fort Nelson Park at 4th and Jefferson Street. We hope to pack that corner before marching to 4th Street, Steve.
Okay. And where can people be updated on the rally?
For now, they can go to www.proselitigants.org for updates. Can you zoom in on this, Mark? That's right here, proselitigants.org for updates.
Spell it out for them.
Huh?
Spell it out for them.
That is PROSELITIGANTS.org.
Okay, super. We got it.
Okay. You can also print out the letter to President Obama from the same website, right there from the front page on the site. We urge you to print out the letter and promptly mail it to President Obama.
Okay, now let's open this up to the audience for some questions.
I'd like to ask one question. I want to commend you, make a comment as well. I want to commend you for sharing such vital and seem like complex, technical information
That's right.
at a level that is understood by a non-financial professional like myself.
Yes, sir.
I do understand, though, that there is a great disturbance in the country about the fact that the rich and the wealthy remain wealthy, and the poor, no matter how hard they try, they still remain poor. So these strategies that you are talking about, it appears, have worked for the good of the rich that are presently being implemented. I heard you mention the name Warren Buffett,
Yes.
who is a very wealthy man. I was taken aback. I came up out of my bed as I listened to CNN, a professional financial analyst like yourself made this statement that during the Depression in the 1920s, 1% of the people in the country, in America, owned 23% of the wealth. during the Depression, during the 1920s.
Yes, sir.
He also went on to state that here in 2011,
Mm-hmm.
1%, that same 1% of Americans still holds 23% of the wealth. So it does seem that the policies and actions over the years have tended to produce the very same thing. And I commend you for your insight and your willingness to take a stand, because unless something is done, I think a revolution is about ready
Yeah.
It's about
to be
occur.
born
Yes.
here in America.
Yes.
Of the poor, people, as we've seen in other countries.
Yeah, right.
Because while I may not, I know that there must be many others who will understand this language that you are writing and presenting, and will be moved to action. I know I'm willing to sacrifice some time to help maybe the oncoming generations of the unwealthy,
Yes, sir.
that there might be a more fairer distribution of wealth. I, for one, I'm not against wealthy people enjoying a comfortable way of life, but I am against people who work all of their life,
Yes,
as
sir.
I have done. I don't think nobody worked any harder than me,
Yes, sir.
trying to acquire wealth.
Yes.
And it just hasn't happened. And some of these principles that you're mentioning, I believe, have been the mitigating force
Yes.
that have kept my efforts from being productive. And I sense that there are a lot of people like those demonstrators in New York and now in California, and I think it's just going to spread unless the president and other leaders make some decisions that will bring about changes
Yes, sir.
that will help the poor.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Reverend Elliott. Yeah, I think you hit it right on the mark. If our government does not do anything to change the structure that we have now, then and I think that we're headed for problems. And of course, the whole, as far as I'm concerned, the revolution is already before us. And people are revolting.
Right.
It's just not in the, it's just not in the form of a violent revolution. Okay, and I hope it doesn't get violent. I hope that our government start taking appropriate steps, such as what we're talking about here, before, before this thing, gets violent. To address your point, okay, that's why I discuss that it is crucial at this point that Americans begin to understand, fundamental monetary policy. For example, within the letter, we point out to President Obama that the high or low dollar is a false choice for Americans. For the last 20 years, economists, pundits for the establishment has argued that a low dollar is good for import, for exports. Well, that may be the case. You have, a finite amount of companies that may be benefiting from exports, but by the same token, the whole the security of the whole nation is held at bay with that low dollar. Okay, if we have a high dollar, that would tend to reduce the exports, but the economy of the